Hello, and thank you so much for joining me tonight. I have got another super amazing video. I'm really excited about this one. If you watched my video on the magic of photo paper, this is super similar, but we're using marbles tonight. Now, this credit goes to Mrs. Holdy at my kids' school because she did this for painting class that I was helping out with, and I was in love, and I thought instantly, I gotta go home and try this and have fun with this. So I've rated the kids' marble run and pulled out the marbles. You're going to need marbles and you're going to need paint. Any kind of paint should do as long as it's paint, it will work. I'm going to use the Delusions paint. They're very vibrant, bright colors. You'll want some cloths because we're not going to clean in between. We're just going to wipe. And I've also got some metallic paints. This is kind of my little tub of sort of extra paints, and so I'm going to use some of these as well in my crafting. This is super simple, super fun, super effective, and you'll love it, and you can do it with any age. So if you're crafting and you've got kids around, have a go with it yourself, have fun, then let your kids have at it because it's so awesome. I'm really excited. So I'm going to start with pink and yellow. Make sure you know which colors make mud and which colors will be pretty. This is something where you can let them dry in between. It dries quite quick as long as it's not your first run. And then you can put it to the side and you can add more colors on in like a few minutes later. So all I'm doing is blobbing some paint on my piece of card and rolling the marbles around. It is literally that simple. So quick and easy. I made all my backgrounds in about 15 minutes and I had to stop because I ran out of space to dry them. So all you're doing is putting your blobs of paint on and then wiggling your marbles however you want to make a pattern. So I did some that were messy and all over the place. I did some that were stripes. I did some that were more splotchy, and there are different ways you can do this. There's so many options and possibilities. I have so many more ideas of what I want to try, but what I've started with in this video is I blobbed my paint down on my cardstock, which you saw. Then I've gone ahead and done 3 sort of prints per set of paint. So I've got the first one on the right, and then you can see the graduated blending of color to the left. So this is why you want to be careful not to get mud. Now to clean it out, I'm just wiping. I am rubbing the marbles in my microfiber cloth and then I'm just wiping my tray, and that's good enough. None of that paint transfers to the next one, so you don't need to worry about washing it in between. You can just keep going and adding different colors and new colors. So now I'm going to do pinks and purples. You can either blob it on like I'm doing here, which is what I'm sharing with you first, or you can go ahead and blob it on the side. This is just a box I picked up from B&M that I use for storage in my office. Any box will do. I don't know if you'll see it in the footage, but I get a little overexcited when I go crazy shaking them around, and I did ping a few of my marbles out across my craft room. So there are little dots of paint somewhere around my craft room because this here, I just like a couple, there we go, a couple flew out while I was doing it because I got so excited about it. It's quick and easy and so much fun, and you can create such cool patterns. And again, you can add in metallic paint. So here's that first print I did. This was the 3rd one on the first set. I wanted some purple. So I had that kind of orange from the pinks, the pink and the yellow mixing. So now I'm going ahead and adding purple on top of that because I only left it for maybe 2 minutes and it was fully dry. Because the paint at this point is so thin, it's really easy to add more. So bear that in mind. You can do more colors. You can just add them in as you go. So again, I've just wiped out my box and I'm going to come in with this time some green and some yellow. And then I'm just trying different patterns. So I start with going up from the top to the bottom, and then other ones I go from the top. Well, I just switch the tray around and then make it the long way. There we go. This is what I'm trying to say. I do this direction as well. And it's just a fun background to get. And these colors are bright and vibrant. The paints are beautiful. They go well together. Now, again, I'm doing about 3 for every single piece of card that I do, so I can really use up that paint. And those first impressions obviously are going to take longer to dry. And so you need to bear that in mind. The second 2 kind of go quite quick. Now you can use the side of your tray as well. You don't have to blob it onto your paper. So if you want to avoid big blobs on your cardstock, then you can just stick it on the side. This cardstock here is about 250, maybe 300 GSM. I just grabbed the cardstock that I use for my card bases and my card fronts, and that's all I'm using. Nothing special, nothing expensive. Paper works as well. Just be careful, it may not tear. Well, it may tear when you go to lift out the tray because it does stick to the tray a little bit. So using cardstock is probably a better idea. Here you can see I'm just using the sides. I'm not putting it on the paper, so that first print will be a bit less blobby. So I'm going side to side to get my pinks and purples, and then I'm going to go and shift them all to the top and drag that silver down. So now you can see the base is pink and purple with the kind of silver dragged across the top of it, or a pearlescent. It's kind of like a pearlescent white almost, more than a silver. This one I kept it really simple, just did a couple runs. So you can see these prints are so super easy to do, and it's really, really fun and therapeutic. And honestly, I really struggled to stop, and I started thinking about other mediums that I could maybe try in this as well. So essentially all you need is some marbles, and if you've got children, they probably have some kind of marble run or some kind of game or toy that has marbles. Get them out and have fun. So here's all the prints that are finished. These are the first ones. And you can see they're quite wet. I'm getting paint on my hands from touching them because they are quite chunky still and still quite wet. So I left these ones to dry for about 3 or 4 hours. And I got to work on the rest of mine. So there were a few bits that were still a little bit damp, and those areas I just tried to avoid or left them to dry. Now all this sort of second and third generation prints are all completely dry by the time I'm done this whole project. Now, this is where we are going to work on the KISS method. So this stands for keep it simple, stupid. So I don't like that last word so much. But what we want to do is keep it simple. Lots of people get really stressed out. You've done these gorgeous, beautiful, fun backgrounds, and then you're getting all complex and thinking, how can I include dyes? How can I step it up? How can I make these cool? But honestly, just keep it simple. So I did pretty much the same thing for almost all my cards. I changed it up a little bit here and there, but the biggest trick to doing these and making cards out of your backgrounds is to use big stamps. So I will link everything I can down in the description box below, the paints, the stamps, the inks, everything I've used, apart from my box of marbles, obviously. So if you want to find any of those things, you can. But this is what I do. This is my go-to trick for making cards. I use big stamps that cover the whole background, and then I don't have to worry about what I'm going to do with this sort of background of my card. I did trim down most of my bases to either include having strips down the sides of my patterned paper or have them layered up onto a card base. So I'm not going complex here. I'm keeping it really simple, and I'm doing really simple stamping. And sentiment strips are your best friend in this case. I use a lot of sentiment strips in my stamping. Now I'm all finished my stamping. Because it's on paint, it stays damp and wet. So I'm going to seal it in with some clear embossing powder. I picked up this massive tub of Wow embossing powder because I'm notorious for getting other colors mixed into my embossing powder. So I've decanted a bit of it into this little metal tub, and then I can just sprinkle it over the top. And you can see I didn't even use my embossing bag, nothing, because it's not really sticking to the stamp. Sorry, to the paint in the background. It's just sticking to the stamped image. Now, the nice thing about this is you were using clear embossing powder, so if it does stick to that paint in the background, it doesn't even matter because the paint is already shiny, so having more shine is fine. All we're doing is sealing in the ink that we have stamped on the top. Now, if you look, none of it rubs off, so I can rub my fingers all along. I can touch it all I want, and that black is not coming off. So I used VersaFine Onyx Black, which is a pigment ink, so it does stay wet longer, which allows this to happen more. So on this one, a little bit of embossing powder got outside of where the stamp is, but it's all clear, the paint is shiny, the image is shiny, it doesn't even matter. And that's the trick to stamping on top of the paint, okay? So we're going to seal it in. So a lot of my bases, I did this. I cut it down by 1 centimeter to 1.5 centimeters so I can do some layering. I've got my colored cardstock. This is new from the Paper Boutique. I have already ordered some more colors again because I've been using this non-stop. These colors line up with my paints so well. I've got a color in this pack that will match almost everything. And of course, my rainbow card, holographic card. So Rainbow Card has got a website. I'll link them down below. Now, this is my one card that I didn't take a photo of properly because I got so excited about this. I made up a card and took it to school to give to Mrs. Holdy yesterday, and said, thank you very much for teaching me a cool new technique. And so that was a card I quickly snapped a picture of before I put it into an envelope, which I did put it in a matching green envelope as well. Now, these new stamps that I got in my collection, I love. They work really well. They have a coordinating die, which you'll see in a minute. But for these ones, I use Nuvo drops. And I just went ahead and used my clear glitter Nuvo drops, which I always stick a little drop on the top of the lid so I can see what the color is. and I just plop those all over the stamp, and it works so well. I love these ones. These are like probably my top favorites. So we've got all these Nuvo drops that kind of coordinate with the colors in the background, and then a sentiment strip along the bottom. And that is pretty much all I did for most of my cards. And I've got my little strips here of my holographic card. I just trimmed them down with my paper trimmer and then glued them along the sides. Now these stamp sets do have a coordinating die that kind of goes with it. So I made use of that, and I just went and used the die on some metallic foil card and some glitter card. And then I had a couple glitter sequins for the smaller circles, because the smallest one doesn't actually cut with the die. This is my favorite of all of them. I love how this turned out. So this was that first print we did with the pink and the yellow, and I think it stands out and is just stunning. I love it. And the rest of my cards are here. So all I did was add strips down the sides. I kind of trimmed them so I could add those little strips, so I wasn't backing it fully and wasting any cardstock behind them. But I had a little bit of character. And of course, because I trimmed down on my cards, I had loads of these scraps bits left over. And if you've watched my video before, I've shared this video with you, and I'll link it down in the description box on how you can make that little strips card as well. So that is my video for today. I hope you had fun, and I hope you have a go with this, because it is so easy to do. And honestly, get your kids involved, grandkids, nieces, nephews, anyone you know, because it is really fun and simple to do. If you liked my video, please give me a thumbs up. I'd love to see a comment from you, and don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you on Saturday. I can't wait. I've got another really fun one for you on Saturday as well. See you all soon. Bye.